All right. Well, welcome to another expert interview. Really excited to have a good friend of mine and one of the guys who's a power networker. Keenan Polan's on with us today. Keenan, thanks for taking time, man. I know you're in the grind coming up to the Barracuda. So let's jump straight in, man. Let everyone know who you are and what you do.
Thanks for having me, Devin. Excited to be on with you. My name is Keenan Polan. I'm the Director of Sales for the Barracuda Championship, which is the PGA Tour event in Truckee, California. It was hosted in Reno for about 21 years, and we made the move up to Old Greenwood and Truckee in 2020. So excited for a fairly normal year this year with hospitality, tents, pro-am, and spectators to actually enjoy the course this year in the tournament.
I'm excited, man. I know we didn't get a chance to get out there last year, so it's going to be nice to get up there and see the venue. It looks great on TV, and having played it, I know it's going to be super fun for spectators.
Yeah, course is getting into shape, and we're just excited to move away from the made-for-TV event that was last year. All 4 rounds will still be broadcast on the Golf Channel, but really excited for people to be able to get up on site.
Awesome, man. Well, let's talk trends. I always love to ask the question, what's trending in your industry? What's something maybe people are going to hear about or something that's going on in your space?
Yeah, I think sports as a whole, technology is really starting to trend, whether that's, contactless payments and ticketing. We're going all digital with our tickets and parking passes this year. More and more sports and on the team side are using tech and analytics to really dive into the numbers and try and create a competitive advantage for them in their respective sports. And then on the sports business side, there's more and more tools that are available to us each and every day to help us grow our respective businesses. So I think that's one of the biggest trends that, I'm trying to keep track of and trying to implement where it could be helpful for us.
That's awesome. And tech is definitely something that's such a moving target, and the speed of adoption right now is so fast. So it's great to hear that's happening in your space. And I mean, you have so many dynamics to an event the size of the Barracuda, right? Because there's ticketing and there's sponsors and there's volunteers and there's staff and there's pros. I mean, there's just so many moving pieces. So it's going to be really cool to see how you feel the impact of tech.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, from a communication standpoint, how we're delivering messages and staying in touch with all those different people you just mentioned, tech allows us to do that easier and more effectively as well.
Sweet. Let's talk about marketing, right? So, or just leveraging. So the conversation I wanted to have, and there's so many ways we can go, especially with your background and experience, but if we look at an event like the Barracuda, what are the various ways that a business could take advantage of an event and use it to their benefit?
Yeah, I like to break it down into 3 buckets, really. So hospitality, pro-am, and then your traditional, branding, marketing that people really think of when the word sponsorship is used. So hospitality is all about entertainment, engagement, appreciation. So whether that's, taking customers, taking prospects, taking key team members out to the event and providing them with a, pretty robust opportunity, from and a streamlined opportunity from an entertainment standpoint. So all-inclusive food, beverage, parking. We like to make it really easy for companies to take those important guests out to the tournament and provide them a really high-end experience. I think we've done a great job over the past, I'd say 6 or 7 years on the food and beverage side, partnering with local celebrity chef Mark Esty and his team. They take over the catering for all of our hospitality venues, including the players, the caddies, of course, sponsors, volunteers, etc. But they've also took over the ownership of our concessions as well. So instead of going and getting that, kind of traditional stadium food, hot dog, hamburger, beer, Mark and his team really up the level and the quality of food. So even if it is a burger, it's not your, low end burger. It's that high end. And I think they've done a really good job, and that just helps us sell a better experience. Then the Pro-Am is really kind of a bucket list type of item. The ability to play golf with the PGA Tour Pro the day before competition starts on the golf course, that these guys are going to be going out and trying to battle through 4 days of, and ultimately take home the trophy. That's just one of those once in a lifetime type of experiences. So that's where we really see, law firms, wealth management advisors, the casinos. If you have, 2 to 3 really, really important customers or prospects, the Pro-Am provides that, kind of once in a lifetime experience, and ultimately, 4 to 5 hours of FaceTime, not only with them, but with the pro as well. So I always try to link it back to, think about having the opportunity to shoot free throws on the court with Steph Curry before a game, or run a 5-yard slant and catch a pass from Tom Brady or Russell Wilson on the field before a game. Like, it's just not possible, right? So that Pro-Am is just an amazing experience, and pretty much the PGA Tour, LPGA as well, are the only opportunities to get out and play golf on the course like that. And then, branding, marketing, creating a brand affiliation with the Barracuda Championship and the PGA Tour as well, trying to leverage your brand and highlight, product, service, etc., with a brand of that stature. The research shows that people aren't walking around wearing, radio station, TV station shirts. They're wearing, sports team apparel brands. And when companies sponsor events like that and put their brand out in front of fans, there's more affinity to go and use that brand, buy their products, and become, long-term customers. So we try to get really creative in that space. We custom curate all of our packages, especially on the marketing side. And digital marketing's become a huge piece of that as well. Trying to leverage social and maybe tie in some influencer marketing, and just gives us the opportunity to reach even more people than you would traditionally with, a sign on the golf course during tournament week.
That's awesome. And I love the 3 buckets, because I think that applies to more than just your sport. Maybe the Pro-Am shifts slightly to a different bucket, but it's nice to be able to break it down and understand there's different ways you can get involved. Some questions and things I know I've heard over the years, and being a partner and have done stuff with you. What if the people I'm trying to bring out don't like golf?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one I hear on a weekly basis, if not more. Really back to that food and beverage and just the overall experience. We're trying to create an atmosphere where even if you could care less about the golf, you could have your back turned to golf all day. It's more about being outside or being in a very cool, unique venue, having great F&B options, and then the social side of it, right? Whether you're going out with a customer, with a prospect, you're getting hours of FaceTime with them, really good opportunity to build relationships. And then there's just several networking opportunities throughout our different hospitality venues that give you that chance to still take advantage of the PGA Tour and the Barracuda Championship without necessarily having to worry about the golf side of it.
I love that. And it is a setup question, right? But it is something I dealt with too. We kind of some background on it. I held a seminar before the Barracuda, not last year, but the year before, and did some great education 2 days of the event. And then I took those people out. I think we had 25 people a day or something like that. And I would say half of them aren't golf fans at all, right? And I got tons of questions with why would I go, and whatever. And I said, well, that's the reason you come, right? Because you're never going to buy a ticket to experience it yourself. I'll take care of it. You come experience it, and you'll experience something different, right? And the food and beverage is next level. It's all you can eat. It's all you can drink, right? The views are phenomenal. These golf courses are immaculate. And even if you don't love golf, man, these guys are doing stuff with the ball this big that you've never seen. Like I mean, they're hitting some crazy shots. And that was the feedback. I had people personally tell me like that going to that got them into the sport, which is great. Like pick up some clubs and go play. And then I had people just say like, yeah, I could see this. Like I would come back to this because I appreciate it. So I encourage you guys not to be discouraged there, no matter what the sport is, right? If you don't like basketball, it doesn't matter. The experience is what you're creating, right? Same thing with baseball. I'm not a huge baseball fan, but getting to sweet and entertaining people at a baseball game is phenomenal, and it has a lasting impact. And I do enjoy the game. I enjoy the food. I enjoy the yelling and screaming, but maybe not be something I'm going to sit down and go to, I'm not going to go to 40 games, right?
Yeah, great points across the board. I think, when you brought clients out like that, it really allows us to get in front of new people and show them the experience isn't all about golf. Really, we're trying to create, again, business networking, social opportunities around around the game of golf. It just happens to be on a beautiful golf course during a PGA Tour event. And there's pros to just going to a baseball game and having a hot dog and a beer and being outside in a cool setting, and you could care less about the game. But again, it's about the experience and really trying to just take that in and have fun. And if you can enjoy yourself and your guests are enjoying themselves during that experience, then it all works out and it's all positive.
Yeah, and you're creating memories, right? And
Yep.
that's what we want, right? Stories are memorable. So if you're selling, we always love to tell stories because people remember the story. And if you're going to create an experience, make it freaking memorable because they're going to remember it and they're going to talk about it, right? So you can create raving fans and advocates by creating awesome experiences. And the Barracudas in any PGA event is a great way to do that. So that's something I want you guys to consider if you're looking at entertainment options and how to elevate either your relationship with your team or relationship with vendors or relationship with key clients.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, I loved going to your second bucket, man. I love that conversation on the Pro-Am. I think you put that post up yesterday on LinkedIn that was giving that analogy. I was hoping you would give it because I thought that was awesome. Like, yes, it gets me excited to think about like, oh, I want to go shoot free throws with Steph. And it's like, yeah, there's not an avenue for that, let alone at every event. So being able to go out and play with professionals on a professional course and experience what they're experiencing, I think is next level and super phenomenal. And it's something that, I think the PGA and LPGA does a really good job of creating experiences like that you're not going to get in any other sport. So it's awesome that they create that experience. So good job on that. And yeah, I guess we're not shooting free throws with Steph. Back in. So I love the Pro-Am bucket and just kind of the levers there. And then the third bucket, I think just brand recognition. What are some interesting statistics? I know you guys have like a crazy amount of viewers and a pretty large amount of people who come out and I mean it was bigger than I thought. So could you talk about what that looks like from an impression standpoint?
Yeah, so Golf Channel broadcast is it hits over 220 countries and over 1 billion households worldwide. So, those numbers right there are massive. Over the past 4 tournaments, excluding 2020, we've averaged about 37,000 fans throughout tournament week. And the majority of those are Thursday through Sunday, during competition. But really, diving into the analytics of the digital marketing trends we've seen over the past couple of years, we're looking at an example, Eid Bailey. They sponsor our player commitment posts. So, 30, 40 days out, we start to get a better feel of what players are going to be playing in the event. And so we start to post those, higher level more popular players on social media. And John Daly's post in 2019 had, over 100,000 impressions, engagements, maybe not engagements, but impressions total. And like, it was, one of our highest performing posts throughout the entire year. So just one example of how, using social media and getting brands in front of our followers, and to, followers of followers, just creates a lot of momentum there. And to your point earlier, it's telling a story too. It's not just, hey, this is our sponsor, this is a logo. Like, we like to get really creative and find unique ways to tie our partners into different campaigns. Last year we had a pretty fun campaign with Tahoe Mountain Realty and the Old Greenwood Fractional Ownership Group, where it was focused on moving day. So it's a real estate company. They're trying to, showcase the homes that are available on property. And moving day in golf is known as Saturday of the tournament, when guys are really trying to position themselves to win the event on Sunday. So there's guys moving up and down the leaderboard. And so we did a full day, social takeover essentially, that was all around moving day and guys that were, playing really well that day. So again, just kind of a fun, creative way to tie those companies in. And then, one thing I haven't talked about yet, which, arguably is the most important thing, is at the end of the day, we're a nonprofit. The Reno Tahoe Open Foundation's who I work for. It's who my teammates work for. We're the ones that operate the event. And over the 22 years of the tournament so far, we've donated over $4.6 million to charity. And our proceeds go back into the community. So at the end of the day, finding companies that, really want to support the community, want to use cause marketing and, support different charities locally and regionally. Those are other opportunities for us to partner and create some fun ways to both get the company's brand out in front of people, but also showcase a nonprofit and all the great work they're doing in the community.
Good stuff, man. I love the creative aspect, and I was going to actually talk about that. So thank you for going there without me having to ask. I think that so often when we think about sponsoring or spending money, I guess maybe we feel like it's going to, buy some fast food and it is what it is, but like, it's not. Like, as a business, if you know who your demographic is, your client, your cost of acquisition. What I have found with sports over the years and working with Keenan at a couple of different places is like, we can talk, like we can get creative, because at the end of the day, it doesn't do any good for the sports venue or sports event to sell a sponsorship that's not going to have a return on investment for the business. So if you're a business owner and you're considering this kind of investment, whether it's a ballpark, whether it's the Barracuda, whether it's a stadium, I think it's really important that you understand you have the freedom to get creative, right? But you have to understand your return on investment. You have to understand your target audience. If you understand these things, then you can come to Keenan or any guys in the industry and say, hey, here's who I'm trying to reach. Here's my understanding of my cost to acquire a client or a lead. And here's what I'm trying to do. And then let their team get creative. That Bailey one, man, they stood out so big for me because I saw those announcements and everybody wants to know who's playing. So it was cool because you're organically consuming their brand in a way that's very positive. And, I can't emphasize enough, guys, like, make sure you get creative. And I know Keenan could give example after example of, the value of getting creative when it comes to sponsorships.
Yeah, Bailey is a good example because people are starting now to look for that. I think this will be our third year in our partnership with them. And now it's like, okay, 4 to 6 weeks before the tournament, we're looking for those Bailey player commitments. And try to switch up the graphics and the visuals each year too, to, make sure that it's attracting likes and engagement. I think, to add on to the ROI portion too, return on objective is a huge thing that more companies need to look at. I most of the time we can't guarantee that, by having a social media campaign or logo on a signage at the golf course is going to result in X dollars. But if your objective is purely brand awareness, let's get creative and find ways to get your brand in front of more people. If it is to, drive sales, then we need to have some type of, traffic driving element, some type of call to action to make sure that our partners are, responding in a way that's going to put you in a position to sell your product or service. And then there was one other point that, you had mentioned. I get it. Like, we play in a dozen charity golf scrambles a year, right? They have a sponsorship deck that's, here's a presenting sponsor, here's a whole sponsorship, this is what you get, it's X amount. Like, I understand that nonprofits have a lot on their plate. That's an easy way for them to go out, generate some revenue, tell their story. But with professional sports teams and leagues, you responding to an email or a call and just saying, hey, yeah, send me what you got. That's kind of like a financial advisor, you saying, yeah, just send me what you got. Well, how much money do you make a year? How much do you have in savings? What's your, current investment strategy like? So, we kind of always try to equate it, not to say that, sports partnerships are the same level as a doctor-patient relationship, not nearly as important there, but, we're trying to understand your business, understand what your, goals, needs, and wants are. And then we can, we can prescribe a solution for whatever those problems, whatever those goals are.
I love that, man. And speaking of money, because you brought that up, I think that's another thing is, if we talk about sports and we talk about stadiums, like, oh, it's so expensive, but there's so many options, whether it's just buying some tickets for a day and taking people out and just participating, all the way up to, yeah, I want to be the title sponsor and I want to have a long-term commitment and brand recognition year over year. So I think, my advice there is, like, it doesn't really matter what your budget is, but be open and honest with whoever you're talking to about, hey, here's my budget, here's what I'm thinking, and then be open to some feedback on, okay, well, with that budget, here's where you're going to have the most impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's really, at the end of the day, a waste of time for both parties if there's not that transparency up front. But to your point, we have grounds tickets, in the $50 range. And we have partners, outside of title spending six figures plus. So there's a huge range there in budget size. And, obviously it comes with different types of activations and different access depending on where you're at. But, part of our job is to understand where that business is at and how we can create something that's a fit for them.
Perfect. Let's talk about I know you have a really good understanding of sports in general when it comes to marketing. So maybe let's pan out just a tad. In the Reno market, we've got the Aces and college, and who else am I missing? We used to have basketball. I guess we've limited our sports intake.
Yeah, Aces, Nevada Athletics, the three majors, baseball, basketball, and football there. But yeah, unfortunately lost 1868 FC. We lost the Bighorns. So kind of the gist for now. I mean, there's a ton of special events in Reno though as well, that some overlap with sports, some don't, but it's definitely a special event driven area.
For sure. And I think that if we look at, when the Bighorns were here, I know that's how we met. I think a lot of the stuff we've talked about as far as price point, leveraging events, brand recognition, taking people out, like I said, the buckets except the pro-am part, but all the same stuff applies, right? You guys can take a lot of this conversation we're having around this one particular event, which just happens to be what Keenan's promoting and where he works, but you can apply this knowledge to all those buying decisions you guys are making in your market with your local sports teams, or even the college, right? The college has some really good ways that you can get impressions, but you need to think through it the same way and also take some of the same advice, like what's your budget? how creative do you want to get, what's your impact, again, what's your return on objective. So I love all that info. I just want to make sure people understand like all this applies everywhere.
Yeah, and I think the Aces and Nevada Athletics do a really good job as well. We might have some different products and assets and things like that, but it's we try to help each other, internally in such a small sports market, and make sure that we're kind of sharing best practices and industry trends and things like that. So I'd say they all do a good job. We just provide some different experiences with, from baseball to football to basketball to golf.
Yeah, and different demographics will resonate differently, and it's awesome, man. And I can't advocate enough, right? I know we did an ROI breakdown of the investment I made 2 years ago, and I made a decent investment. I was working a corporate job with a large company, and we invested, I want to say it was about 20 grand, and we impacted 25 people, particularly on 2 days, 25 people on each day over the weekend. So we had 100-person touch, and we ended up generating 12 leads, and I closed my biggest account ever from that event. So I'm not going to guarantee that's your results, right? We worked the hell out of the event. We did a lot of relationship building. We did a ton of follow-up, but by creating this unique experience where we had a lot of time to get deep into conversation, that's what really made a difference. And I think that's where golf is such a unique venue, because it is a day-long activity, right? You have a longer period of time to get into these conversations. Whereas when I would take people to the basketball game, I mean, basketball is intense. And if you're sitting courtside, which is a great place to sit, you damn sure better be watching, right? Or you're going to wear your beer, right? So like, you have to pay attention. So again, that's great. You're going to remember that. It's epic when the guy lands on you, and it's awesome, but you're not going to have that in-depth conversation that you can have when watching golf, because you have so much time during the day to walk and mingle and experience the event. And I think that's something you need to consider when spending money on like tickets or experience, is what kind of conversation are you going to be able to have? And if you're not going to be able to have that in-depth experience at the venue, make sure you pad it, right? So have some food experience before, or have like a wrap-up event after, do something a little creative, because the experience is good, but at the end of the day, if we're taking clients, prospects, or team members out, we want to have relationship building too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you did a really good job having some, training and kind of a more business touch point right off the bat. And then you're taking those people out where they can kind of be more relaxed, eat, drink, enjoy the day. So yeah, I'll wait for you to get that case study over to me, and I'll start sharing it with more of our partners. But there's a handful of partners that, whether they have one big event for a day at the tournament, or they're out there for multiple days, just using that opportunity for touch points with customers, prospects, team members, 4 to 6 weeks out, where, save the dates and kind of an initial, hey, we're going to have, tickets available. Would love to have you come on, Thursday, a tournament, blah, blah, blah. And then there's, 2 more weeks. It's, hey, are you in? The RSVP, and then follow-up information about how to get their tickets. Here's parking pass information. All those touch points just allow you to have a reason to reach out to your customers, your prospects, your team members, whomever. And it's not salesy. It's not, trying to push them to a decision other than, hey, do you want to go eat, drink, and watch golf all day? Sounds like a pretty easy yes to me.
Well, and you bring up a good point though, right? It's kind of like all marketing efforts. Like, you got to work the effort, right? Like, whatever you put in is what you're going to get out of it. You can't just spend the money and hope it works, right? Like, you've got to make sure that there's a plan, a formula, there's touch points, you have a follow-up process. We see it like using the billboard example, right? You're going to go buy a billboard. Okay, great. But where are you driving the traffic? What's the traffic going to do? If they see your brand, what's the messaging? Like, it's very similar in any marketing dollar, but if you're going to spend money on an event and experience, make sure that you have touch points after, to make sure that you're furthering the relationship. make sure that prior to Keenan's point, especially if you're buying tickets, like you got to market the tickets because you have to make sure it fits people's schedule, that they can get there. So make sure you use all the tickets you buy, because that's the worst experience is you have these awesome tickets, but you didn't do a good job pre-marketing to make sure that you're actually using them.
Yeah, great point. We try to, help with onboarding and making sure, especially new partners, kind of understand what those best practices are and what, past current partners do really well to make sure that they're getting the biggest return out of, whatever their investment is.
Let's talk about excitement, right? So I think that this is something, even going back to the Bighorns, we could definitely reference. I think that if you're in a big market, there's big opportunities, right? If you're in Vegas, right, you've got the Raiders, right? Cool, great, big. If you're in a submarket like us, like there's not as many big opportunities maybe to get and watch big name brands. However, it's the opportunity to like see them before they break loose. And I know at the Bighorns, there were a couple guys that came through that like were awesome and became really good players. And I mean, I think that the Barracuda has one of the coolest stories recently about a player that you could have watched. You could have walked the course with him, watching him play. And then he goes on to win the championship, right?
Yeah. So, Colin Morikawa, 2019 champion at the Barracuda Championship, goes on to win the 2020 PGA Championship. Has really put himself on track to be a superstar in golf, and it was, I believe, his sixth professional start in 2019 at the Barracuda. Goes on to win, and to your point, you could have been feet away from him, and there's a lot of people that were there that day that have then watched him rise to that stardom. So because we are an alternate event, meaning there's another PGA Tour event going on the same week as us, we're getting a lot of those up and coming players that are going to be your future stars, and then some guys that are a little bit older in their careers. John Daly, Padraig Harrington, David Duval's, that have all been here multiple times. So it's kind of the best of both worlds in that. Like, probably never going to see Tiger here, but you're going to see, pretty much 51 on are the best players in the world. And Gary Woodland's another great story. He won in 2012, I believe, here in Reno, and then went on to win the 2019 US Open. So those are the stories at the end of the day, and the memories that you could potentially have from coming out and supporting the event.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to share that, because I don't want people to be discouraged at, whether it's an alternative event, whether it's a smaller market, or even your college teams, man. Especially in professional sports, a lot of those guys go through college, right? So you're gonna have an opportunity to see cool people, but at the end of the day, it's the memories, right? But I love that Colin one, and that was such a cool experience. And then some of the follow up you guys have done with some of your key people and creating some more access points and opportunity was great. So I wanted people to hear that.
Yeah, I think past champions are always kind of proud to go back and support and interact with those tournaments and their sponsors and supporters. But the first win, it just puts it on a different level. So we're rooting for Colin this week down in Torrey at the US Open. He's paired with Brooks Koepka and Justin Thomas. I mean, that's just, the storytelling there is it's hard for us to believe like how fast that rise has been for him.
That's awesome. Well, let's go ahead and pivot out of sports. I'm sure we could dive in more, and we'll probably have some more conversations. I'd love to do just a marketing roundtable, bring you back for that, because I know you have some great insight there. I'd love to talk sports careers real quick, just get some insight there. You've worked for 2 sports teams, right? And you've moved up in one of them. Awesome story, right? It was cool to watch you grow there and, end up running the team. What's a word of advice you would have to someone who's interested in getting into the business world of sports?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something we talk about all the time, regardless of what industry you're in. It's networking. Like, you have to be able to go out and build relationships with people in the industry, outside the industry. But if you're looking to get started in sports, it comes down to like who do you know? How can you get that foot in the door? You might start off in a very, low paying, high hour per week job. But if your dream is to work in sports, it's a high demand industry, and that's the best way to get in, is to, start networking. If you're in college now, start networking, reach out to different, teams, leagues, etc., and trying to build some relationships now. So when you are ready for that first job, out of college, then you already have some contacts and people that can give you further advice. Guy reached out via email a few days ago, asking if we had internship opportunities. He's from the Midwest, and we do have a couple open this year, and pretty sure that he's going to be getting an internship just by trying to be proactive and meet people early in that process.
Such good advice. And thank you for applying that to everything, right? Because it's something I advocate for a lot. Is one, you don't know if that's the industry you really want to go in, right? You need to have conversations, you need to experience it. Internships are so valuable because it gives you real insight. Like, is this really the industry you want to work in? Is this the type of environment? What's it look and feel like? And your other point there is so important, is you don't know unless you ask. Like, so don't be scared. Networking, most of the time, no one's going to be harsh and yell at you for reaching out to ask. Right. So like, get that out of your mind and just like be okay with it. Be okay just reaching out and saying, hey, who do you know? I'm interested in this industry. I'd love to, have coffee, have lunch, or intern, or volunteer time, or whatever I've got to do to get around it and get some knowledge. Like, if you're willing to give that and be transparent, I think you'll see a lot of doors open, but you got to ask.
Yeah, and I think there's more people who are going to ignore you than reply rudely. So just make sure that you have a big list and you're reaching out to a lot of people. There's a couple tools specifically for sports careers now too that I'd recommend checking out. The Clubhouse is one. Essentially matches up people looking to get in the sports industry, or college kids with mentors that are already in the industry. You can schedule 30-minute calls. I probably had 3 or 4 of those over the past couple of months. And to your point, it's kind of fire away with whatever questions you have. And I think it's all about honest feedback. And again, you already have a couple connections in whatever that respective sport is.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the big subject, man. I know that, I love referring you to people, one, because you're so value focused in every relationship, but I mean, you're an amazing networker and a great relationship builder, right? I've always appreciated that about you and how you approach relationships. When it comes to networking and sales, what's your philosophy, and, what's your kind of word of advice there when it comes to networking and sales? So done. All right, we'll re-record that part. So when it comes to networking and sales, what's your advice? I know you're a power networker, amazing relationship builder, always value driven, but why has that worked for you? Or what's your philosophy that's gotten you to have, really good sales success and great network?
I think first it's just like being genuinely interested in people and wanting to connect. And then with the goal of trying to help them if possible, whether that's, for me now through the Barracuda Championship or on a personal level. I think the most value I can bring to somebody is just asking that question and then trying to help connect them with, different people, resources, ideas, etc. So that's kind of what I always lead with, is just, be open to meeting pretty much everyone, regardless of, what they do or what their interests are, because you never know if at the very least you're going to find a new friend, referral partner, and customers that come out of simply networking and taking coffee meetings, or just cream on top.
Love that. And that's where, when I think about, I mean, we met at it was a BNI networking event in 2013, 2012. I mean, like,
yeah, that time frame.
Yeah, it was a while back, but that was just a conversation at a networking event. And then lots of nurturing later, we've done business a variety of ways. We've done businesses together a variety of ways. And I think that's, again, I always have appreciated that about you is when I watch you meet with people, when I see the feedback, when I see how you make referrals, you're always selfless and you're always driving value, right? I think that's the big takeaway I want people to understand is if your intent is to go into every networking meeting or every meeting to sell something, your results are going to be garbage, right? They just are. If your intent is to go in and to be genuinely curious and ask good questions and be a listener and look for ways to drive value, no matter what value looks like, you're going to sell more and you're going to have a much, much better network.
Yeah, I think people are just going to respect you more for, not being that hard seller. Like we all see the people at the networking event that have a stack of 20 cards and their goal is to distribute those as quickly as possible. But it's like, what's the follow up? What's the value there? Our initial meeting in an event led to coffee, and then the rest is history. But I think if more people take that approach with, hey, it'd be cool to meet a couple people at this networking event, have a genuine real conversation, and then we get coffee, lunch afterwards and find out ways to help each other, support each other, it's going to go a lot longer than just purely going spewing your sales pitch and getting out of there.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate that advice, and I always appreciate your introductions, and again, just how selfless you are when it comes to networking and driving value. You're great at that. And my encouragement to anyone on here is like, if you want to elevate your sales, if you want to elevate your relationship building, setting up a meeting with Keenan and truly understanding how he does that meeting, from how he books it with you to how he follows up with you, like you've got to pay attention because there's a lot of lessons in there. And I think you'll learn a lot about the sales process and relationship building. So with that, below this video, you guys will see links for ways to connect with Keenan. There'll be a click here button. That click here will open up a form. You can put your name and email in, write a message. I know Keenan, per what he just said, he's always open to meeting new people. My reminder on encouragement there is pay attention to how he does it, how he asks questions, how he books the meeting with you, how he follows up. There's a lot to learn there. And I think that there's a lot of value just in paying attention to the process. And other than that, man, I always appreciate our conversations. I appreciate our time and I appreciate everything you do for our friendship and for the community. So thank you, brother. And I look forward to the next one.
Thank you, man. Love what you're doing here. And I think I learned a lot of that from you. So appreciate the love and guidance there.
Thanks, man. Talk soon.
All right.